Okay, so we will be getting the derivative of this function h of z, which is equal to 2 minus the square root of z times 3 plus 8 cube root of z squared. So we will be using product rule. So kaya ang forma ani is product man, of course, no? We will be using the product rule, and we will let f of z, okay, we will let f of z to be this term, 2 minus the square root of z. On the other hand, we will let our g of z to be this term. Let's copy that one. 3 plus 8 cube root of z squared. Now let's go and look for the derivative of our f of z and g of z. So here, our f prime of z is just equal to 0. Here, the derivative of 2, that's 0, minus the derivative of square root of z, we have negative 1 over 2 square root of z. Alright, 1 over 2 square root of z. This is by power rule. Now, the final answer here for the derivative of f of z would be negative 1 over 2 square root of z. Next, let's go and look for the derivative of g of z, or we have g prime of z. Derivative of 3, that is 0, plus we have the derivative of this, that is just equal to 16 over 3 cube root of z, and that is also by power rule. So we have our final answer for its derivative, 3 cube root of z. No? We get our f of z, f prime of z, g of z, and the g prime of z. So let's go and substitute this to our formula, no? The product rule states that d of z, or the derivative of the product of our 2 minus square root of z and 3 plus 8 cube root of z squared is just equal to katong f prime of g plus g prime of f. So let's go and substitute the values of these terms. Diretso ko na, no? So ang general form ani siya is d over d z time the derivative of the product of f and g with respect to z. So yung ana na siya. Diretso ko rakan kay kahaway na. Alright. Now let's have it here. Equals. Alright. The value of our f prime of z, that is negative 1 over 2 square root of z. Negative 1 over 2 square root of z. Okay, times our g, that is 3 plus 8 cube root of z squared. 3 plus 8 cube root of z squared. Cube root. Okay, plus our g prime, 16 over 3 cube root of z. So let's write it here. 16 over z over 3 cube root of z times our f, that is 2 minus the square root of z. So let's write it here. 2 minus the square root of z. Now let's go and simplify this one. So automatically ang denominator ana niya is 1. So we will multiply this numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. The same goes in this, no? Numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. Alright, so let me delete this one, erase rather. We have negative 1 times this whole term. We have negative 3 minus 8 cube root of z squared all over 2 square root of z plus, here we have 16 times 2, that's 32. 16 times negative square root of z, we have negative 16 square root of z all over 3 cube root of z. 3 cube root of z. Okay, now let's go and simplify this one. I-add na to ni sila, but we cannot directly add them since taglain man sila ng denominator. So we need to find their LCD, and that will be the product of these two. So the product of these two is just equal to 6z raised to 5 over 6. No? So you just have to multiply this one. Alright, now let's simplify. This 6z raised to 5 over 6 divided by 2 square root of z is just equal to 3 cube root of z times this whole term. So let's write it here. 3 cube root of z, okay, 3 cube root of z, or z raised to 1/3 times negative 3 minus 8 z raised to 2/3 plus kapira ang kaninga sign, no? So we have next 6z raised to 5 over 6 divided by 3 cube root of z is just equal to 2z, 2 square root of z times this whole term. So right na to 2 square root of z, or 2 raised to z, or 2 times z raised to 1/2 times 32 minus 16 z raised to 1/2. Okay, now let us distribute with the same denominator. That is 6z raised to 5 over 6. No? So this is 1/3. Now 3z raised to 1/3 times negative 3, we have negative 9z raised to 1/3. Next, 3z raised to 1/3 times negative 8z raised to 2/3, that is negative 24z. And we have here, copy the operation in the middle. Now let's distribute these. 2z raised to 1/2 is times 32, we get 64z raised to 1/2. 2z raised to 1/2 times negative 16z raised to 1/2, we get negative 32z. So next, since we do have it here naman, ato i-combine unlike terms of unlike terms. So we will start from the highest exponent. We have z. So z ang pinaka-highest exponent. Now we will combine these two because they are like terms man, the same variable, the same degree. So negative 24 plus negative 32z, that is just equal to negative 56z. Next, we have 1/2. Alright, so plus 64z raised to 1/2. Plus 64z raised to 1/2, followed by the next term. We have negative 9z raised to 1/3. Negative 9z raised to 1/3 all over 6z raised to 5 over 6. Now let's go and ibalik na to sa original form medyo katong root, no? So we have negative 56 negative 56z plus 64z raised to 1/2 or 64 square root of z minus 9z raised to 1/3 or 9z cube root of z all over 6z raised to 5 over 6. Now this will be your final answer. Okay,